How long have you been at Weber?
I've been at Weber since 2008.
2008, okay.
So I don't know how many years that is, but forever.
Yeah.
Like somehow all of a sudden I became senior faculty, and it was strange and humbling.
And when you moved, you moved here from another state, right?
Yeah, I did my undergrad in North Carolina and then grad school in Minneapolis. Then I moved here from Minneapolis.
Okay. And when so between that time, was this kind of like a trial of like you're not sure if you want to do this?
Well, yeah. I mean, my degree is in musicology, which is like music history and culture sorts of stuff. And so this was my first job out of grad school. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start at this little school and then like work my way up. But then when I got here, I was the only music historian. And so I was in charge of all of those classes. And gradually I came to realize that as a generalist, I was much better off. The most historians specialize in a particular area, and mine was like 18th century instrumental music. And then I got here and I'm teaching like everything. And so I think that was really good for me. And, you know, Weber was great because they kind of let me do what I wanted and explore my own way of doing things and my own interests. And yeah, it's been a winding path, but an interesting path, and not the one I thought I would be taking.
Yeah, I feel like every like idea and path that I have is like I have the idea of what it's going to be like, and then it's always different. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to have a goal, but also for those goals to be flexible and movable, and you know, to realize that it really is. This sounds passé, but it really is about the journey and not the destination.
Yeah. So just for some context, the assignment that I've been putting together and kind of thinking and it's kind of more of a personal thing, I think, where I have been thinking about doing school and done a full year at Weber and said, okay, this is my trial of interest in music or interest in sound production. And I really have a passion for like similar things. Like, I mean, I guess what was your initial passion with, maybe we can go back even further.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes to music and inspiration from your passion for music, like where did that all start for you?
Yeah, I mean, as I was thinking about this in preparation, you know, I was a junior high kid and I wanted to play an instrument, and so I picked the trumpet, and so I played trumpet horribly in band and all that, and I switched to horn, French horn, and did that in college. I thought I wanted to be a high school band director. The truth is I wanted to be my high school band director. And it turns out we're not the same person. And I quickly found that out when I got out and started teaching high school band. I was like, this is not me. This is not for me. So I quit that and then worked at a perfume factory for a while and played freelance sort of French horn in orchestras and things like that. And then finally joined, didn't know what I wanted to do, so I joined the Army Band. And I served 4 years in the Army Band, got a horn performance degree while I was in that. And then once I was through with that, I was like, this isn't what I want to do. And so I explored musicology. And I've always kind of lived a double musical life. Like, I would play on horn the things I was supposed to play, but then I also was always experimenting, and I was also an electric bass player in rock bands and things like that. And it was like these two worlds wouldn't meet. There was like my serious classical world, and then there was my fun experimental rock kind of world. And as I got here and just started, I had time on my hands, and I finally had money for equipment and stuff. I just started collecting things and learning how to use them. And I was kind of a secret, the composition side of things was kind of my little secret for a long time. Till about 4 or 5 years ago, I think, I finally was like, I write music. I perform electronic music. Here's a concert. Yeah. And that was well received. And I think it's an important part of my practice. I think that the music history side of things helps inform the music making side of things, and the music making side of things helps inform my understanding of history.
Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
And I think even there's a connection with because I'm talking, all of the thoughts I've been having is like formal education. Is it worth it? Mm-hmm. Is it obsolete? Do you need an education to do freelance or to do anything in music or creative arts? Yeah.
And I have thoughts about that.
Yeah.
One of and hopefully none of my music colleagues see this video, but one of the first things I tell students when they come in my office and they say, I want to be a music major. One of the first things I tell them is, you don't need to go to college to be a musician. And they're like, what? And I'm like, in fact, going to college doesn't guarantee you a career in music either. So knowing that, why are you here? Mm-hmm. Which I think gets at the deeper question of, are they here to learn? Are they here to do something they're already good at? Are they here because they don't know what else they can do? And at that point, then we can start sort of steering things in a direction. I think that even with formal education, all formal education really gives you is experience, and most importantly, shows you how little you actually know. The smartest people I know are aware of the limits of their knowledge and are always thirsty and always hungry, and there's always something else. And, for me, doing electronic music and composing and experimenting, there is no end to that. There's always something that I don't know. There's always something to learn. And, it's hard because you want to say, oh, I'm a professional. This is what I do, but I feel like if most of us are really honest, we still have no idea what we're doing, but we're keeping at it.
Yeah.
And I think that we need that. I mean, if I was doing the same thing now that I was doing 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I would go crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just reflecting on that, mm-hmm. It's definitely in line with how I feel and why am I here? I think those are all good questions to ask for all mm-hmm. college students. This is my second time coming back to college after almost a 10-year mm-hmm. In between time. there's two things I have in mind, and one of those things is how like education is like a business. There's a lot of people working together to, I mean, it is bringing in money, but it also, there's leadership.
Yeah.
And I guess where have you found the like connection between education and your approach of creativity, of like finding a network of people and leadership and everything?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I mean, the network of people is important. I am sort of by nature very hermit-like, and if it were not for my teaching responsibilities and my service responsibilities here at the university, I wouldn't know anybody, I wouldn't talk to anybody, which also means I probably wouldn't be inspired by people, and I probably wouldn't be asked to do things, and and I wouldn't be able to provide whatever it is I have to offer for people who ask. And so education, formal education, houses together a bunch of like-minded people that you can get to know, that you can bounce ideas off of. But it also houses together a bunch of not like-minded people as well. And when we can manage to have reasonable conversations, then that's extremely fruitful too. I think about, the alternative, which would be, you pick a career path and you want to be a cobbler, somebody that fixes shoes, right? Yeah. So like, how does that work? You find someone to teach you cobbling, you work with that person, and then what? You go out and you cobble. How do you find shoes to cobble? You put up a sign, and I don't know, you talk to people, you network, you do all of those things. You learn what you have to offer, and you learn how to tell people that. And at the same time, you learn to accept what other people have to offer as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's just like handing off of things, I guess.
Do you feel like you're
a cobbler? No.
Yeah. Like the leader of the cobbler, like you're teaching people?
Yeah. I don't feel much like a teacher. I feel more like a curator. And I guess what I mean by that, and I was having a conversation with a colleague earlier today, anything that you want to know from me, you can look up. There was a day when someone in my position was the holder of knowledge. And in order to get that knowledge, you had to sit through whatever hours you have to sit through with me. But that's not the case anymore. Yeah. You can find that information anyway, like quickly, easily. So what's left? I feel like what's left for me to do is to help encourage making connections among those informations that you find out, the things that you find out, like how can we make those things like work together? How can we understand how they're related to one another? And through doing that, then we can create something new. In terms of like my music history duties, I mean, same thing. If you want to know when somebody was born or died, you look it up. You don't need me for that. But if you want to understand how their body of work sort of connects to another person's body of work, well, I might be useful in that. But I mean, I think any teacher's eventual goal is to make themselves obsolete. the student eventually becomes the master. That sort of stuff.
That's a really interesting perspective, because education for me has been, I go to the place, I get the knowledge. But I think you're right there, because it is about the student, and they're the master to bring themselves to that point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, completely. You have all of the knowledge that you need on your phone.
Yeah.
Question is, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
And it's at that point that I think that teachers, mentors can become useful.
Right. With all that kind of that we've talked about, what do you see next for yourself and for maybe even for Weber, like in the music program?
Yeah. I think that for anything in higher ed to survive, it has to be willing to adapt. And, universities are giant ships, and ships take a long time to turn. Universities are in a position of protecting, I don't want to say the old way of doing things, but protecting tradition, while at the same time not being allergic to innovation. And where I see, the music program, or any program really at Weber, being successful is in doing both of those things. Both protecting, recognizing tradition, and at the same time being willing to innovate. The world changes. Music listeners change. Music makers change. The contexts for music change. And bearing all of those things in mind and thinking about them honestly is really important. Thinking about how we can respond. As for me, I don't know. I like to think that I wake up every morning and decide to come here. I realize that's probably not entirely true.
Yeah.
But I do my best to make sure that the conversations that I have, the things that I do, the things that I teach are intentional. And I take ownership of those things. And by taking ownership of those things, that means that I can change them if I need to.
Yeah.
I don't teach things because I think I have to. And someone eventually will probably call me out on that. But it's that intentionality that I try to keep foremost in mind.
Yeah.
And that I try to model for other people or whatever.
Yeah. It definitely comes across very positively in your teaching, and very inspiring for sure.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
And thank you for sharing all of your thoughts about, I could have asked maybe more specific questions, I think, about how is education obsolete?
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more to uncover when someone like me is thinking about school, and like, there's a lot of history, someone's background, how you network. Every teacher's different too, and there's so many different factors, I think. So I think for a lot of people in my position, have their own journey.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're the master of themselves. They learn in different ways. So
yeah, absolutely.
Last thing, do you want to talk about your This Is Water project a little bit?
Sure. It is, I think it started in 2024. I wrote this little chamber piece for 4 instruments plus electronics. It was about the Great Salt Lake drying up, and I got this random email from a new faculty member I'd never heard of in the art department, and she said, "Hey, I'm working on similar things visually. Do you want to partner up?" And I was like, "Sure." And one thing led to another, and she did video for the work, and now the video is a very integral part of the work. And then that sort of grew to a multimedia installation at the Dupke Plaza. And monthly we have events somehow relating to the work. And it's been interesting to see all of these different iterations of the work happen, right? Like in 2024, I wrote on staff paper this like piece of music, and then in what year is this? In 2025, last Friday I was remixing the studio recording live as a projection artist was live remixing projections onto one of the sculptures. Like, I had no idea in 2024 that it would turn into that, and that it would engage so many different art forms and so many different people. And I don't think that necessarily says anything about the work itself as it does about art as something that can embrace many different ways of being, many different ways of expression, many different, the work itself, the work I wrote in 2024 is in some ways unrecognizable in like my live remix and some of the other things. But what it has done is it brought all of these people together.
Yeah.
And that's super exciting for me.
I agree.
And there we go again with the the curation thing. And yeah.
Yeah, and I even got to be part of it a little bit.
Yeah, you did.
So.
Yeah, you did. You got to plug in some things and crawl inside of sculptures that now have spider webs and all kinds of things inside them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.